You have a new homework assignment. It's already posted on MU Online, the PDF of it. I'll give you a paper copy now. The vast majority of this homework 6 is related to an in-class exercise that we're going to begin today. And so you could get most of the homework finished today, I think, if you worked quickly. Of course, there's no rush. You've got a week to do the assignment, but I know students are always glad to know that they could finish an assignment quickly. How did the videos go last week? Everybody accessed them? I didn't get any emails saying that YouTube was down, so I guess the videos were there. I had a great trip over to the UAE. I was in Dubai, and that's always an interesting place to visit. I'll bring some snacks into class next time. Whenever I'm there, I go to a special market where they sell all sorts of interesting fruits and vegetables. And I really like dates. You guys already got one, right? Anybody here had a date before? I mean, the kind that you eat, not the kind that you go on. Yeah. Oh, man. The dates over there are so good. So I'll bring some into class and we can get a sugar rush going next time, all right? Come hungry on Thursday. All right, so everybody's got one of the homework assignments. All right. So this homework 6 is due a week from today. And what we're going to do today is continue the work on statistics and histograms. And part of the reason why we're going to continue that is it's important, but also I didn't want it to just to leave it as like a virtual class without opportunity for you to ask questions. So there are a couple of things I wanted to demonstrate or refresh in your memory. And the first is when you've got a text file, a handful of students, I think, had the issue of when you click on the link for a text file, sometimes your browser will just display the text rather than allowing you to download the file. So I wanted to show you how to deal with that, because it's sometimes an issue that you'll face over and over again. A lot of government data from websites like the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration or the EPA or the Department of Energy, a lot of regulatory bodies and government agencies that gather data will post their data as text files so that, let's see, if you click on the text file, then it will just show it. But you don't want to show it, you want to download it. And so what you can do is, if it would allow us to go back here, is you right-click. Now this varies depending on browser. Right now I'm using Chrome browser. The things are a little bit different if you're using Firefox or Internet Explorer, Edge, or Safari. But if you right-click, sometimes then it will let you save link as, and then that will be the text file. So see here, it's GVW. So if I saved that onto my C drive into a temporary folder, then I'll be able to access it, opening it right now in the Notepad viewer, which is what I wanted. So I wanted to see that in the Notepad. I don't necessarily want to see it in the browser itself. It's doing its best to display all sorts of content, images, text files, PDFs, and so on within the browser, but sometimes it overthinks it, and it does what we didn't want it to do. So again, the key is to right-click on the link, and I think regardless of what browser you're using, it's a right-click operation, and then it's something to the tune of save link as, so that it gives you the option of the location to store the file. All right, so that's one thing I wanted to point out because you're going to need it again today, is how to download a text file. Now, adding the analysis Toolpak. I know that's something we've done before, but it's been a couple of weeks, and I was surprised this morning when I turned on this computer and the analysis Toolpak wasn't there because I turned it on last time on this, so it must have disabled somehow. And in the case that yours is also disabled, it's easy to bring it back. You just have to go to File, Options, Add-ins. Well, maybe it was in the video that I turned it on. Maybe it wasn't here in the classroom. But anyways, your analysis Toolpak isn't available right now, right? Everybody have Excel going? Let's go through this together to make sure that everybody has access to the analysis Toolpak. So again, you start off by going to, from the Home tab, you go to File, Options, add-ins, and then manage the add-ins. And then we're just going to tick the box for the analysis Toolpak and click OK. And then once you do that, if you go to the Data tab, then you see here is a data analysis tool that wasn't there previously. Okay, so now we've got that. Anybody need to see that one more time, or did everybody get it all right? Okay, selecting a long range of data. So let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to open up that text file that I downloaded earlier, just because it's a long data set. If you scroll down, there's like thousands of data sets here. So we can select all of that by just typing Control-A, or if you don't like keyboard commands, I think you do Edit, Select All, okay, and then Copy, which is Control-C, or Edit, Copy. And eventually today you're going to want to paste this in to Excel. Now, before you've opened text files, but this is something slightly different. Rather than opening a text file, we're going to paste it. So you could do Control-V for paste, or I guess that's just paste. And then the problem is look, that it's all pasted into column A, but these values we don't want everything in column A. So if it's kind of messed up like this, there's a way to bring it in so that it's not messed up, and that is, let's see, where was I finding that earlier? Yeah, text to columns. So you click that, and it's similar to the wizard that takes you through when you're importing a text file. It basically is asking you, okay, if you want it in columns rather than all at once, what should I use to break or to demarcate what data goes into a certain column? And we can see here, we want the comma to delineate a new column. So here, delimited is what we're going to choose, but by default, the tab is enabled. All we have to do is turn on comma, and now, well, I should have selected all of it. It did it for the row that I was on. Let me select everything. Undo that. Select it all, text to columns, and then, yeah, comma. And now it's fine. So we've got the data point number, year 2002, year 2004. Okay, the main thing, you're going to be able to go through this later, and there are instructions available. There's just one specific move I wanted to show you. So definitely watch this. Don't focus on your own data right now. You want to see this move. It'll save you potentially hours depending on how long your data set is. Now look, this goes all the way down through 43,000 data points. Now think about how tedious it would be if you wanted to select everything. What if I'm going to click and drag? So I clicked and dragged, and now I'm going to be here all day as it goes down through 43,000 cells. I could speed it up a little, but still, there's a better way than just waiting and waiting and waiting. You click at the top, and you press the Shift button and the Control button and then the down arrow, and it takes it to the very bottom of the list. So that's how you can select a lot of rows in a column, is Shift, Control, down arrow, and it'll just take you to the bottom of the list. Now in this case, you'll notice I didn't include 2004, because that's the year. That's not part of the data set. Okay. Don't worry, you'll have step-by-step instructions for today's in-class exercise, but there's just a few moves that I wanted to show you rather than answering the same question 30 times, because I know it would come up as a question. Naming a range, remember that we can name a cell, like I could name this cell right here with this naming box. I could name that first year. And now in any equation, I could say first year instead of B1, and it would know that this cell is what I'm talking about. But you can do the same thing with a range as you can with just a single cell. And so if I wanted all of this data from 2002 to have a name, I could do my Control Shift down arrow, and so I've highlighted that entire range. And here in the name box, I could call it year 2002, enter. And now, anytime I refer to, like if I wanted to find the average for that, I could do equals average, and now instead of typing in the range, I could just type year, and it starts to give me here an option. So I don't even have to finish typing it. It just sort of knows that year 2002 is one of the things out there that I could include inside of that reference. And so I'll just double click on it. It fills it in, and now it tells me the average for that range. So again, the way to name a range is just have some cells highlighted, and then go here into the name box, the naming cell, and this one would be year 2004. Enter. You got to be sure to do that enter. All right. Moving blocks of cells. This is a little bit tricky sometimes if you're not used to the way that Excel operates. So let's say I'm going to put in some rows here. I'm just going to insert some extra rows. Insert, insert. I can highlight 2 cells at a time and insert, and then it'll insert 2. I could highlight 4, and it would insert 4. So I've got some extra space now. If I want to move all this text up here, you highlight it, and then the cursor, see how it's like a plus right now? If you get it down by the green box around the edges of what's selected, it changes the cursor just briefly to a different symbol. And what that different symbol is telling me is I can click and drag that data somewhere else. Okay? So that's how you click and drag inside the Excel environment. And then finally, changing the number of digits on a graph axis. Let me show you the finished product of today's in-class exercise, because it's going to include a graph, and the graph has to be formatted in kind of a particular way. We're going to do a histogram and some graphs. Okay, so here's the graph in the end. I want your graph to only have 20%, 40%, 60%, and so on. This is how it's originally formatted. When you just use the default settings, it's going to show that as having 2 decimal points. Now, what's the point of that? 20.00%. It's not like I was worried it maybe was 20.01% before I showed those extra zeros. And they're just useless to be there. They become visually distracting, those extra zeros. And so the way that you change it is you click on the axis, right-click, Format Axis, and you go down here to Number in the Format Axis options. Number, and we want it to have 0 decimal places. And then it will take away those extraneous zeros. All right, so that's all I wanted to show you before turning you loose on today's in-class exercise. The in-class exercise, I didn't want to kill a tree for this. I felt like you probably just click on this, bring up the PDF, and so you should do a split screen thing. You can bring up the PDF and have that on one part of your screen, and then you can open up your Excel window on the other, and so that saves 5 pages per student. So the instructions for today's in-class exercise are available as a PDF on MU Online. You work through the in-class exercise. You don't need to submit it for today's attendance. I'm going to get today's attendance based on who picked up their exam. So I know who's here. But you do need to submit this as a part of the homework assignment that I've just handed out. So definitely early on save your file someplace so that in case Excel crashes you don't lose your work, and save it so that you can have access to it later on as you're finishing the homework assignment. Any questions before I turn you loose on today's in-class exercise? Yes, Romello. Pardon me? Right, okay, yeah, the data. Now, it's available as a download in here on the course content. And so once you download the text file by doing right-click, Save Link As, and you save the file, and then you just open it in Notepad, and you select all, and then you copy. So now we've got it in the copy and paste thing. Let me create a new Excel file that I'll paste it into, a blank workbook. So you paste it, and then, oh, well, it pasted it nice this time. Well, it's already figuring it out this time around. I don't know why. Maybe because it's seen the data set before. But what you'd use is this text to columns. It's under the Data tab, text to columns, and then you'll have to tell it to delimit by comma rather than just delimiting by tab. It needs to know to delimit by comma. So again, it's under the Formulas tab, under the Name Manager, where you can make changes to named ranges and so on and delete them if you need to.